Alright, let's get into it. You've probably heard the whispers, seen the screenshots, maybe even started mining on your phone. Pi Network, the cryptocurrency project that gathered a massive following without officially launching on the open market. A fascinating case study in community building and how value can mean different things to different people. The biggest head-scratcher is the price. One group claims each Pi is worth $314,159. Exchanges show an IOU Pi trading for mere cents. What is going on here? Is one side right? The truth? Pi operates under a dual value system, two parallel economies, running at the same time. So, let's start with the big one, $314,159. This figure is known as the Global Consensus Value, or GCV. It is not listed on major exchanges. It's an internal value adopted by a portion of the Pi community for their closed ecosystem. If enough people agree on that price and exchange goods at that rate, within that group, that becomes its value. The number references Pi, 3.14159, turned into a monetary symbol. GCV is more a social and economic statement, an aspirational goal for future utility. It depends on a closed-loop economy. Transactions must happen inside the system. Pioneers who pass KYC and migrate to mainnet can use Pi browser marketplaces. Vendors can list products, from shirts to phones to cars, priced against GCV. If the buyer agrees, then for them, in that moment, Pi was worth $314,159 inside the ecosystem. Now, let's switch gears to the external value. On some exchanges, you might find a token listed as Pi. At the time of recording, that token often trades for cents, roughly 20 to 40 cents, a universe away from the GCV. Crucially, this is not transferable mainnet Pi. The Pi mainnet remains enclosed. No official deposits or withdrawals. These are IOUs, placeholders or derivatives for a future Pi coin. When you buy this IOU, you're buying a promise contingent on a future event. Pi's core team has stated these listings are unauthorized and unaffiliated. IOU prices are set by classic market forces: supply, demand, and speculation. They reflect perceptions of progress, user base, skepticism about legitimacy, and broader crypto sentiment. Inside Pi, 10 Pi might appear worth millions by GCV. Outside, IOUs for those 10 might fetch only a few dollars. Markets price what's verifiable: performance, liquidity, the competitive landscape, not community consensus alone. To grasp the $314,159 GCV's traction, we need to talk about the grassroots Kosasih Code. It wasn't created by the core team. It was user-led and went viral. Named after Doris Kosasih, an advocate for a high, standardized Pi value from the start. The idea? Decide on a price collectively and stick to it to bootstrap a stable economy. Implementation was a social campaign across chats, social groups, and forums. The core message was simple: do not sell your Pi for cheap. Advocates anchored on the symbolic $314,159 valuation. Selling for cents would betray years of collective effort, they argued. It forged a strong ideological anchor and drove GCV-only marketplaces and barter culture. It also polarized. Believers saw protection, critics saw unrealistic price fixing. Regardless, it was a masterclass in community organization and grassroots value creation. Let's formalize it. The Pi Network Dual Value System. Internal Value Economy, GCV of $314,159. External Value Economy, speculative IOU at cents. Two systems operating in parallel, built on different principles, serving different purposes. Like two countries with their own currencies and policies, talking about the same asset. Internal is a closed-loop utility system. GCV is the de facto exchange rate for goods and services. It prioritizes stability and consensus over open market price discovery. External is open-loop speculation. Price is discovered on exchanges, even if via IOUs. The enclosed mainnet firewall lets both systems coexist without collapsing into one. If open, arbitrage would force rapid convergence, likely far below GCV. Let's use a familiar analogy: airline loyalty points versus cash. Airlines set internal redemption value, say 50,000 points for a $500 flight. Inside their system, a point is worth a set amount for flights, upgrades, or store items. Similarly, within Pi's ecosystem, GCV sets a high internal value for goods and services. But you can't walk into a bank and cash out points for dollars. On gray markets, those points sell for much less due to risk and restrictions. That mirrors Pi's IOU price, a speculative gray market for future coins. One price is for internal utility in a closed system, the other is for risky open market trading. They're different because they represent different contexts. The gap between 314,159 internal and cents external reflects clashing worldviews. First, belief versus skepticism. GCV is aspirational, markets demand proof. Second, liquidity and fungibility. GCV value is illiquid. It's only realized with peers honoring GCV, not with cash or major crypto. Cash and top cryptos are liquid almost everywhere. External IOUs price in time uncertainty, when or if that changes. Third, risk, regulatory paths, real utility, post-novelty demand, and hyperinflation fears from large supply. Finally, supply and demand. Total potential supply is huge. Enclosed circulation is smaller. If supply floods without matching demand, price falls. The IOU market is betting on that lower outcome. The community often downplays risk and focuses on vision. That's the tension. If you're a Pi user, here's how to interpret this. Holding an asset with two perceived prices is confusing. If you passed KYC and migrated, your Pi has utility within the ecosystem. You can transact with others who share the GCV valuation. In that context, it has value. But you cannot sell that coin externally for 314,159. The market does not recognize that price. Treating GCV as equivalent to cash is misleading and risky. It's better seen as social capital, a stake in a future digital nation. Cash value today is effectively zero due to no cash out. IOU cents are a speculative signal for the future. Appreciate internal utility if you believe, but stay realistic about external price discovery. Pi's dual value system forces a question. What is value? Is it a market auction number or a community social contract? GCV declares that consensus can define value inside a closed context. It's an attempt to build an economy from the inside out, utility before speculation. The external IOU price is the market's show me. Proof, liquidity, adoption. Neither value is entirely real or fake right now. They are different contexts. The true test comes if and when mainnet opens. The two universes will collide. Then, internal utility and external perception together will set price. Always ask, where does a price come from? Who sets it? And what limits apply? Value isn't universal. It's contextual. Whether Pi lands near the dream or the skepticism is unknown. But the lesson in value creation is priceless.